Solar's up there. There's 2 new breakers for the microinverter output. The new arrays will be landing. You like the size of this cable? I mean, the actual assembly is it's like being a kid again. You're bolting things together and you're making a tower. Yeah, so the physical part of it is really, it beats having to drive to the gym and work out there. So it's actually, it's pretty good to do these things and not sit in a cube, not sit behind the desk all the time. My name is Aditya Agarwal, and these days I have a business of my own. It's called Helio Farm. It's my company. It's myself and a couple of employees. And I guess since the beginning, my business model has been that I will pretty much take on what business I can handle myself. So in my case, I'm involved in pretty much everything from the beginning to end. So from the time the customer first contacts me, to our first meeting, drawing up the plans, going to the building department. When it comes time for the installation, I'm on the roof, I'm doing the installation. So pretty much the customer gets me from beginning to end. So solar is a new technology, and it's new on rooftops. The technologies or the sources of energy that solar is competing with, those have been supported for a long time and they continue to be supported. Solar doesn't just stand on its own, it has to compete with something else that's getting a subsidy. At some point, if the government support was shifted to solar in the same way, then solar would have a better chance. There's a lot more solar there now than there ever was before. But that said, you can still drive down any typical block and you'll only see 1 or 2 solar systems. So there's still a long way to go.
He's been on time. He shows up. He was very quick to come out and consult with us, to develop a plan, to discuss options, and to start the work.
So in high school, I had a hot dog truck. And in my junior year, I used to go out and after school, I'd roll out my push cart and I'd sell hot dogs. So I was always comfortable with being in a small business.
I'd say in the beginning it was tough. We had to make adjustments, but it's worthwhile. I mean, there's no doubt that what he does is good. It's worth his time, worth our time doing it, because you actually feel good about what you're doing. So I think doing solar definitely was worth taking the risks and figuring out what we needed to do to stay in this area.
So being in business for yourself it's really satisfying. You get to do all different types of jobs, and they're all doable. There's nothing really that can't be done if you're willing to invest the time to learn it. So you can pick and choose what you want to do. I just happen to enjoy every part of it. It's pretty satisfying because I can do a lot of different things. I'm not just sitting in my cube, answering emails.
You're sitting around at 10 o'clock at night and you think, oh, I need to buy something, and you just get on the computer and it's easy to just click a button and buy something. But it's hard to find. It's hard to just go down the street and find the local bookshop. There's nothing really local anymore. It's easy to find. So it's nice to have a small business and hope that people support the small businesses.
For a while I used to work for Spansion. Spansion makes flash memories. And I would come home and try to explain to my kids what I did, and it wasn't that much fun. It didn't make a lot of sense that I'm trying to create a product so more images can be stored on their camera. It's a little bit different now. With what I do now, I can explain a little bit better. They can understand it more.
He works and he makes money from doing his job.
As I said, we had already had panels in place, and the company that put them in went out of business. So we knew Aditya from another place and thought of him when we decided that it would be a good time to have more panels, and said, let's call him and see what he has in mind.
Yeah, I guess I don't really think of him as being an entrepreneur, just starting a new business.
George Carlin, he had this joke about there's three classes of people, right? There's the upper class, the wealthy, who have the most money, make the most money, but don't pay any taxes. Then there's the middle class that do all the work, pay all the taxes. And then there's the lower class, the poor people. And the poor people's job really is just to provide the fear for the middle class to keep going to work, to do the work. And at work, in a typical company, you'll have a fair number of people who are there because they're afraid of not having that job.
I think some people are a little surprised when they see that he has a PhD. And I think maybe even some customers have asked him, why are you installing solar when you're so qualified? But I think he's comfortable with that.
So the long answer to your question of do I worry, given that I have kids, and do I worry that I may not be able to provide for them? No, I don't worry about that, because I feel confident that I'll be able to do whatever is needed to provide for them.
It's not glamorous being on a hot roof in the summer, but just kind of have to think about what it is you're doing and how it is worthwhile. And yeah, it's got to be a labor of love. It's the only way you can really do it.
If anybody thinks over their life, they've gone from living in a small apartment in grad school to having a large house with a large family. Well, what's the right level? You know, what is it that they deserve to have? Where is it that they deserve to be? I think too many people get used to what they have, and they're too afraid of not having it anymore, right? And it keeps them from doing anything.
I mean, of course, it's not as lucrative as some jobs in Silicon Valley, but it's definitely it's worth doing, definitely.
I try to be as green as possible, but I'm sure there are people out there who would say I am, and I'm sure there's people out there who would say I am not. We try very hard to respect the environment here, everything from putting in solar energy to composting to recycling, reusing, just everything we can do to try and help the environment.
I think I consider myself a green person. I do what I can. I drive an electric vehicle. I have solar on my home. I do my best to turn off appliances when they're not in use. So yeah, I think I would consider myself a green person, yeah.
We have solar, we have our vegetable gardens, we have our chickens.
We sent the chicken when it died to see what was wrong with the chicken. It had fatty liver.
Yeah, I think over the years we've made it more of a priority in our family.
It's really difficult to be a green person. You go to the store, you can't not buy things that are wrapped in plastic. You just can't. So I think most of us delude ourselves into thinking that we are more green than we really are.
Oh, we have been working on trying to reduce electricity usage. We monitor it. We've just started putting in monitors to see exactly what we are, the electricity we're making and the electricity we're using. We even have an electric car that has to be plugged in.
It's funny, at night, if you turned out the lights in your home and you looked around, you'd probably see lots of LEDs. You'd see lots of things that are charging, or power strips telling you that they're plugged in, and those are electrical losses. I actually did a measurement the other day. My coffee maker uses 14 watts just waiting for me to use it.
If I could change one thing, I wouldn't change anything because I don't need to change anything.
The business will change, the market will change, maybe a lot more players will come into solar, and maybe it'll be more difficult later than it is now. But other opportunities will come along. Something else will present itself someday that will be interesting and exciting, and I may do that instead.